Triple support is all the rage right now in Marvel Rivals, and I wanted to make a comprehensive breakdown video of what triple support is, its strengths, weaknesses, how to counter it, and how you can position yourself in different maps and different situations to get the most value against this team composition. Triple support at its heart is a tempo-based composition, and for us to understand how triple support works and how to counter it, we first need to understand its basic principles. A lot of triple support is being able to cycle ultimates and create a lot of sustain and survivability for your team. If Winter Soldier were to ult here, that's why he's glowing yellow, and then look to attack any of these supports here, most likely Luna Snow is going to respond with her ultimate. And in situations in which Doctor Strange would like to ult, then this is where Cloak and Dagger will most likely respond. And in case of emergency, Loki can also look to ult, copying either Cloak and Dagger or Luna Snow. Take into consideration the biggest weakness of this composition, which is the damage output, only having 1 DPS here. In compositions that work very well against other compositions that do not have a lot of damage output, is traditionally triple tank, or sometimes goats. This composition thrives in being able to have high amounts of sustainability while also being able to completely control the tempo of the match. What makes goats composition so strong is its ability to use all 3 tanks to create space onto the enemy team and completely overwhelm the enemy team with the amount of crowd control, spacing, and abilities of sustain and protection that you're able to provide for your team. Where, for example, Venom picks out a target who's out of position, let's say it's Loki. He looks to then dive onto Loki. All members of the enemy team are probably going to look to converge onto Venom. But normally in this sort of composition, if there's 2 tanks here, one of the tanks usually has to stay near towards the team and kind of poke or protect their own backline. But with triple tank or goats, you can all look to then push onto that same target. Magneto could throw a bubble onto Venom, right? And then look to also make space. Doctor Strange can also look to make space. And we have 3 tanks all running at the same target. Not to mention that if you have another DPS in the mix that you can throw in there, maybe a high damage output DPS like a Squirrel Girl or something like that here, or Moon Knight could be another option. You can pump out so much damage and apply so much pressure to the enemy team. Oftentimes, you're either going to be able to force out an ultimate early from the triple support composition, or one of these supports will die. And when you continually make space, these supports are going to be forced out of position. They're going to be forced into spots over here, and this is what makes these 3 tanks able to get picks, and of course your DPS to make plays. Because when so much space is being created, it then comes up to the 1 DPS, or maybe the solo DPS, or one of the tanks will be able to find one of these characters out of position, or even this character here who everyone is focusing. One of those characters will be KO'd by the 3 tanks. You need to be able to enable characters like Venom to make that initial space and then put out tons of damage. The way a triple tank composition thrives against a triple support composition is when these 2 tanks don't have enough resources or can create enough space to fight against these 3 tanks here. And when these 3 tanks are creating so much space onto the enemy, and the enemy is either being forced into bad situations or so much space is being created where the DPS can just have free reign and it's just a field day for him, this DPS will get picks because no one's really paying attention to him, and these 2 tanks are going to be too occupied focusing down the other 3 tanks of the enemy team. Now you may be asking, Nyle, how can I optimize this triple tank composition to make it work best for me and my team? I feel as though a triple tank composition with Strange, Magneto, and you substitute Venom out for something like Hulk, that is where this becomes a little bit more attractive. And if you have access to the Iron Man team up, you can go full Gamma team up with this, and all of a sudden this becomes an absolute nightmare. Not only do you have access to Hulk bubble and Magneto bubble, which gives you the double bubble strategy, this gives Hulk a ton of more survivability, and all 3 tanks can look to converge onto targets, while Iron Man just has free reign in the sky, able to just completely bombard anyone down here, anyone from all of these angles, and no one is really going to be able to pay attention to him, because these 3 tanks are going to be making so much space, and with a Hulk in your backline consistently pressuring supports, something will eventually die, and the Gamma Iron Man will go completely unchecked. Triple support compositions that you might see in ladder that look something like this, where you have 3 supports, 2 DPS, 1 solo tank. Wolverine is a must pick for this situation, right? Strange has to also create space and frontline pressure while also being able to peel and protect for his team. If you have access to Wolverine and the character is not banned, just make this Doctor Strange's day a living nightmare. You want to apply extreme amounts of pressures to Strange and see if you can pick him off out of the fight before any of these other characters get picks onto your team. You guys are engaged in a team fight, and Strange is over here to the side, right? If Magneto uses something like his mag cannon or his right click, right, and pushes Strange out of position, sometimes that's all you need to push him out the way and then look to converge onto the rest of the team and apply pressure here. deal pressure to this Strange who's out of position who dies. So let's say, for example, you don't have access to Wolverine. This is where I think higher damage DPS output is really important. With these two DPS, Squirrel Girl and Moon Knight, they have put out so much damage that you can easily break the prime resources of the tank, which is Strange's shield, or you can look to be able to build ultimates extremely quickly off of either characters like Loki or onto supports and pressure them. Squirrel Girl applies so much frontline pressure that eventually Strange's shield will break and then he will die. You can apply a ton of backline pressure with a character like Moon Knight, and that forces Strange to peel, where he sacrifices space. Once he sacrifices space, you guys then look to move in towards the enemy team and force them into bad positioning. I hope you all enjoyed the video. The main purpose of this video was to be more of a comprehensive, deep dive breakdown into what triple support is. There's a lot of videos out there covering triple support, mainly just people just talking over some gameplay and kind of just rambling on, and I want to give some actual concrete evidence of what you can do against triple support, how your team comps look like, positioning, and what triple support actually does. If you enjoyed it, drop a like, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.